Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to look at a tactical application skill, but it almost certainly has crossover into rescue operations and even to some extent recreational stuff. A little bit of a lead into this, bear with me because it needs a little bit of explaining, because we're going to do something here that might at first take look a little bit verboten or sort of off limits. As I say, bear with me and I'll explain where we're going, okay? So what we're going to look at is an anchoring system that we like to call the Fast X system. What it is an anchor that we're going to build from mil-spec or tubular nylon type webbing. In this case, I've got some narrower 9/16 inch webbing. 1 inch webbing is going to be exactly the same. We use this because it's just a little bit lighter because there's less webbing there, okay, but either one's going to work. The type of anchor we're going to build, it's a wrap pull type anchor, and in this instance it's going to be a wrap 3 pull 2. Many of you watching the video are going, well, yeah, I know how to do that, so what's different about this? The reason why we're going to look at a little variation on this one is because, as you would well know, for those who are familiar with any type of wrap pull anchor type system, wrapping the webbing around the object is easy. Tying the overhand bend or water knot, whichever you like, in the webbing can be really difficult if it's raining and it's dark and you're wearing night vision goggles and you're wearing gloves, etc., etc., etc. Okay, here it's a bright, shiny day. It's all very easy, and I'm not under duress or under stress. I could easily put an anchor in here, no problems, and I could tie that overhand bend or water knot. Okay. When you are under duress and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it's raining and you're wearing night vision goggles, it's a whole different ball game. And trying to tie that bend can be really difficult to the point where either search and rescue operators or tactical operators are just not going to do it because it's too hard. Okay, you're missing out on then the benefits of using the wrap pull anchor type system. What I'm suggesting here is that this doesn't replace every other way of building an anchor, and if I was to rappel down here, I might just wrap my rope around this anchor and go with it. Forget the wrap pull anchor. So this is just an option to make the wrap pull concept more available to situations when you're under duress. That's all it's about, okay? It's not replacing anything else. It's giving you another tool in the toolbox. All right, so that's where we're going with it. If we look at our webbing here, this is a 5 meter length of webbing. 5 meters is an awesome length of webbing to carry around and use. It covers out most anchor situations. We can use this to build an expedient chest harness, and you'll see that in one of our other videos if you check out or explore our YouTube channel a little bit further. We can use this to lash someone into a litter. The list just goes on and on and on. Okay, so a 5 meter length of webbing. I'm going to take that out, in this case my gear or dump pouch over here. I want to build an anchor here, all right, in a wrap pull, in this case a wrap 3 pull 2 style, but make it easier to do if it's a situation where I'm under stress, or it's raining, or all those other things I mentioned earlier. Our webbing is daisy chained up, and I am going to show you how to do that right now. So here's our 5 meters of webbing, daisy chained up, with tails emanating out the end there. Let's have a look at how we take it apart first. It is as simple as drawing the 2 tails out on the end like so. That's it. Because once we undo that point, we can just unravel the webbing all the way out, and of course we're going to end up there. Let's reverse that. I'll show you how to daisy it back up, and then we're going to go back to our start point here. So the key thing to note here to get started is we're identifying the middle of the webbing. Just grab the ends together, trace it through, you'll end up with the center. There's a little detail in here. What we're going to do is take that bite of webbing on the end and pass it over the 2 parts to create what's called a girth hitch. Just there. So just pass the loop over and create a girth hitch. As soon as you've done that, the easiest way to do this is forefinger and thumb. Reach through the loop you just created and grab the next 2 standing parts of web and draw them through to create another loop. We're then going to reach through, forefinger and thumb, like so, grab the next 2 standing parts, draw them through, and you can see it's starting to daisy chain. And we can just repeat that process. Once you get good at it, you don't even need to reach through the loop necessarily. And away we go. It just creates a braid, and we follow it all the way through to the end. And the last part's going to be a little bit different here, because once we get to the two tails on the end, I'm going to pull one more loop. That's going to do me there. And to close the webbing off so it doesn't come undone, we grab the tails and pass them completely through, and that just chokes the webbing out on the end there, like so. That creates the formation that I started with, like that, and you can see it basically doesn't come undone. It'll stay like that. We can stow it in an equipment bag, you can hang it on your harness, you can do whatever you want to do, sort of thing, and it's not going to come undone, and it's good to go, like so. Of course, when we deploy that back out again, like this, I grab the two tails. I only need to unlock one part. The cool thing about that is you can do it in low light, it could be raining, you're wearing equipment, whatever you like. It's just simply a matter of unlocking that, and you can either draw it through your hands if you want to keep it low profile and not make any noise, or you can even do the quick deploy like that. The whole thing comes undone. Run your hands along, and we are going to end up right there, which is of course the middle of the webbing. Okay. So we're going to take the middle of the webbing and we're going to pass it around behind the anchor object, like so. And this is where the X part of the system comes in. I'm going to X the webbing in front, I'm going to X the webbing behind, and then come around in front again. Now this is where the system differs somewhat from a standard wrap pull, in this case wrap 3 pull 2, because rather than using the conventional overhand bend or water knot in front here, what we're going to do is take the two parts of webbing and simply throw it over and tie it as a tails together overhand. Now this is where everybody watching the video is going to look at this and go, hang on a minute, isn't that like a Euro death knot, or that's not how you're meant to do it, that's not going to work? It totally is, okay, because if I draw out two parts of unknotted webbing and pull them to draw the bend up against the anchor object, there's my completed anchor. I'm going to grab my rappel system in this case, connect it in, and I'm good to go. But just why exactly are we good to go? So let's have a look at what's going on here. We have transferred our wrap 3 pull 2 with the special FastX configuration onto this beam here at our facility. The steel, we've got it wrapped around here. It's around about a 100mm section each side. It's painted and it's really slippery. So we've got a very low friction environment for the webbing around the steel beam. We've transferred it around this directional just here, and we've got 150 kg of mass hanging on our anchor. You can see here the two segments of webbing that are creating the anchor are under quite substantial load. They feel seriously tight, okay? Whereas if I look inboard in here and in fact grab a hold of the overhand bend, created tails together like we did outside, I can wiggle that knot around like there's virtually no load on it at all. And it's almost tempting to start to push the webbing back in there and try and undo that thing. It feels that loose. Why is that happening? There'd be a long-winded mathematical explanation for it. The short story is the turns of webbing around the object, and even in this case something that's quite slippery, like this painted steel, it's still creating friction. Every time that webbing goes around the object, it's creating surface area friction, and that friction ultimately results in the joining bend buried down in here is under virtually no load. If you've never done this with a wrap pull type configuration, try it out, because it's surprising just how little system load is actually transferred to the bend located back in here. Of course, if we did a wrap 4 pull 3, wrap 5 pull 4, whatever, okay, it's less and less. The more turns of webbing you have, the less load is ultimately transferred in there. That's how it is that we can get away with this configuration, because when we do our tails together, overhand bend, or what not, in there we end up with these tails of webbing, meaning that the ends are a good deal away from the joining point there, but there is virtually no load in there. So the system becomes quite safe used in this configuration. So let's go back out in the field now and wrap up. So there we have it, everybody. It's an alternative way at looking at using a rappel anchor type system. Just to kind of recap, and I guess to underline a few points in here, we're not for a second suggesting that this is going to replace the normal way of rigging rappel type anchors and joining the webbing using an overhand bend or whatever you want to call it, okay? That should still be a standard mode of doing it when conditions allow and you're not under duress. The sole idea, or I guess where this came from, was thinking about and investing a lot of energy in trying to come up with a way to make rappel anchor type systems more accessible for operators who are either in a tactical environment or even search and rescue responders who are seriously under duress. And those of you who do that stuff, you know what I mean. So it's about using a standard anchor formation, but just adding a little detail in there that means that we can join that webbing easily when it's raining, when it's dark, when we're wearing gloves, night vision goggles, the whole lot, whatever, okay? When I tried to develop this a few years ago, I figured, well, if I can tie that wearing boxing gloves, then I figure we can do it with all of those other variables in place. So that was one of the parameters, and you guessed it, wearing 10-ounce gloves, I can do it, all right? So give it a go and try it out. See what you think, okay? It's a seriously easy way of creating an anchor, but it doesn't replace all the other ways that we currently do this stuff. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to do another video and we're going to test that out, okay, on a test bed to show you that using that tails together overhand in this context is still totally secure. Don't use it in other contexts unless you're super happy to do that. The Euro Death Knot, or EDK, which is a way of joining rappel ropes for a rappel situation, it's a different context. Okay, it's totally different, all right? And it was developed with a different set of parameters in mind for pulling down rappel ropes, either in climbing or canyoning type situations. And we might have a look at that down the track in a video too. So there we go, the FastX system. In this case here, I can give credits where credit's due. We thought it up, all right? So we thought about it for a long time, and we'll put it out there, see what you think. Interested in the comments, all right? Take it easy, team. We'll see you in the next video, all right?